that the death of a young boxer was preventable and could have been avoided. Davey Browne, a 28-year-old father of two, died in 2015 after being knocked unconscious in a fight. The fight was a 12-round super featherweight title bout at Ingleburn RSL between Davey Browne and Carlo Magali. Most of Davey Browne's family were there to see him get repeatedly punched in the head by his opponent, and in the final rounds, Davey couldn't defend himself. But the referee and the ringside doctor did not stop the fight, and Davey Browne was knocked out in the final round. He never regained consciousness and sadly died in hospital. Today, the Deputy State Coroner, Teresa O'Sullivan, handed down her findings into the death of Davey Browne. She says the fight which led to his death should have been stopped in the 11th round, and we need better training for officials and medical staff so that they know when to stop a fight. The Australian boxing legend Jeff Fenech is furious that this tragedy happened in the first place. Jeff Fenech, a three-time world boxing champion, says the fight should have been stopped way before the 11th round. He says watching the footage of the fatal fight makes him sick. And Jeff Fenech, the three-time world boxing champion, is live on 2GB. Jeff Fenech, good afternoon.
Yeah, hi Ben.
Nice to talk to you. I know that this has affected you in a major way. I don't know the answer to this. Did you know Davey Browne, or you've just taken a particular interest in this case after having watched back the footage?
No, I know Davey's brother Tom. I know them very, very well. They've been around the sport for a long, long time. Two great individuals, but so sadly to say, then we only have one now because of what I believe was something so crazy that anybody that's ever watched a fight before, wow, should have stopped that fight. If I was in the corner, I would have stopped it before the 11th round. It's easy to say, and I've heard people say, he was winning early rounds, so I'm just hoping that he, survived and got a decision. But no, health and life's much more important than a stupid boxing decision. And although I'm friends with the officials that officiated that night, I'm very, very disappointed in their professionalism. And I think that there needs to be a huge review, and these guys need to maybe go and get punched in the head a few times themselves and see what it's like, and see if when they'd like it to be stopped.
You weren't there that night at Ingleburn RSL, but when you watched the footage back of the fight, you had an instant reaction, didn't you, while you were watching it? Tell us what was going through your head, because we're not all able to watch the fight back. There are restrictions on how much of the footage can be shared with the public. So why don't you describe to us all, because I haven't seen it, why don't you describe what you saw when you watched back that fight?
Well, you know what, Ben, just watching the footage that we were allowed to watch was bad enough. Not worrying that he was going through, a torrid fight, in between that and in and out of, like getting hit and hitting his opponent. There are just some times when, the guy in the corner's got to think of the health and of your boxing. Forget about the result. I know this. It's better to stop a fight early than too late, and that was stopped too late, Ben. And like I said, every time I look at it, I feel so sick. I think, wow, the doctor didn't stop the fight. The referee never stopped the fight. Worse, the corner never stopped the fight. That was his own brother in there. Of course, his brother wants his brother to win, and I think that might have pulled the blinds down on Tommy. But wow, he was. I don't even like talking about it. It wasn't good for me to watch. And listen, I'm one of the first guys that always stands up. Never been in boxing, but after watching that, I'd say ban the damn sport. If they're the people that are running our sport and we're letting them, the sport shouldn't be allowed to be run.
Who should have stopped that fight? Whose job is it? Because you've spoken about the corner, you've spoken about the doctor, you've spoken about the referee. Whose job is it to stop the fight?
Yeah, well, first of all, look, if I was a trainer, the fight would have been stopped. No, 1,000,000% sure. I've had boys that have been in fights. You can ask all my boxers when I've stopped fights. They got cranked at me. I said, champ, we weren't going to win the fight. I'd rather live another day, be healthy to watch what's going to happen, and I'm sure you'll love me more tomorrow when you stand real for you get hurt. That's my philosophy. But look, the corner should have stopped the first. That's who looks after the fighter. But the referee, who's very experienced, should have had the knowledge of seeing the eye, that he couldn't walk at the end of the 11. No doctor was called to the ring. The doctor never came to the ring on his own. It was such a neglect. When even the doctor was sitting down watching this guy getting beat up, they're not going to go and check him. He couldn't walk. The referee, seeing what he was copying, and didn't call the doctor in to have a look at his kid. But this kid wasn't in a Superman outfit. He was in a pair of shorts. And he couldn't even walk to the corner. Couldn't stand up.
Well, we know how tough you are, Jeff Fenech. Everyone listening knows how tough you are. You're not someone to shy away from the fact that boxing is a tough sport. So that just goes to show you, I mean, your reaction to it. I remember you calling in on the air when we were discussing this when the inquest was underway. I could tell just from the way that you were speaking that this was something that stood out for you so much. I mean, have you seen this kind of thing before? Have you seen fights before where they've gone on when they should have been stopped?
Yeah, I've seen plenty of them, Ben. I've seen plenty of them. That's why we see a lot of fighters today who are, not in the best of health. And I think, wow, like I said, of course it's a tough sport. And as the fighter, you want to fight on, but it's not the fighter's prerogative. It's not. I'm the guy that's supposed to be looking after the fight. I'm his trainer. I can see that he's not going to win the fight. I can see this kid's getting it. You've got to stop the fight. Let the fighter get mad at you. You sit him down and they say, have a look at that champ. You're able to look after your kids now. You're able to smile, say you're able to do what you're supposed to do after. If I let that fight go any longer, you may not have been able to. And that's what upsets me the most, Ben, because like I said, I know the referee's my great friend. I know the people who are there to assist them. But, wow, I can't believe that these guys are allowed to have a job. If I was running the sport, the first thing I would do is I would sack every one of them officials that were appointed that night. I don't care who they are. I don't care if it was my father, my brother. I would get rid of every one of them because if they thought it was an allowable amount of punishment for any boxer to take, they should not be allowed in this sport. And that's why the sport is criticised, because of people like that. If they would have stopped that fight early, let the kid go jump up and down. You whisper in that boy's ear, you're going to be able to be with your mum and dad tomorrow. You're going to smile, you'll thank me in a week, You'll thank me in a year's time when you're still able to function normally and your head's not battered around the place.
Do you think the sport of boxing will change as a result of the decision today?
No, I don't, Ben. No, I don't, because this happens all around the world. And, it happens all too often. It happens in the gym. It happens in sparring, Ben. It happens behind closed doors where it's not regulated. It's just somebody going in to spar somebody, and this happens. And I mean, we need people, like I said, who have been punched in the head and still all right. I'm not going to say like the Jeff Fenech, but somebody who's got the audacity to stand up and say, listen, this shouldn't happen. I've been at the gym and I've had arguments and fights with my coach trainers. I'm sure if you're listening, still remember, because one of my sparring partners was bullying somebody who was unable to stick up for himself. He didn't have the ability. So it's just not good to watch, Ben. I wouldn't like to send my son with somebody to a gym to get beat up from another sparring partner. You don't learn from getting beaten up, Ben. You do not learn anything.
Good on you for speaking up, and I'm sure the family of Davey Browne appreciate it, Jeff. Thanks for your time.
Let me just say one thing, Ben, to Davey Browne's wife, and I know to his mum and dad and to his brother, my heart is with you. I don't know what more to say, but if you ever need me to do anything to help you in any way, my door's always open to you guys. Thanks for coming on, Jeff. Thank you, Ben. Jeff Fenech, the three-time world boxing champion. You can hear it in his voice. And he makes a good point. You can't rely on the boxer to stop the fight. You can't rely on the trainer in the corner to stop the fight. You need a person in a position of power who's going to step in and do it. And on this occasion, according to the coroner, it didn't happen, and it should have happened.